Imagine stepping off a plane in Alaska and finding yourself face to face with a real-life Dr. Seuss house in the woods, or wandering through a forest where trees grow upside down. The last frontier may be known for its vast wilderness and hardy wildlife, but it also hides some truly bizarre and fascinating attractions. In this video script, we're going to explore 5 of the weirdest and most unforgettable places in Alaska. First, we'll dive into the depths of a melting glacier to see walls of bright blue ice. Just a few short miles from downtown Juneau is a hidden ice cave system that feels like stepping into a crystal palace. The Mendenhall Ice Caves are carved inside the massive Mendenhall Glacier, often called the glacier behind the town. Bright cobalt blue walls and domed frozen ceilings shimmer from every angle, so much that explorers describe a magical frozen world of bright blue ice. The only way to reach these glowing caves is by kayak along the icy river, then scrambling up a steep glacier trail. If you make it, you'll find water flowing over rocks and through tunnels of ice. In essence, you see water in all 3 states at once: liquid, solid, and gas. This place is a rare peek into nature's artistry, but also a stark reminder that it may not last. Climate change is causing Mendenhall Glacier to retreat at an alarming rate. It has receded miles since the mid-20th century. In fact, authorities warned the famous ice caves could collapse at any time. As of 2020, explorers reported the glowing chambers had largely melted away. That makes seeing these caves feel extra special and a bit surreal, almost like rushing to view a world that might disappear by tomorrow. It's the kind of adventure that rewards the bold and patient, and definitely the prepared with warm clothes. The Dr. Seuss house. Have you ever seen a house that defies gravity and logic? In Talkeetna, a small town in southern Alaska, one man built exactly that. Locals call it the Dr. Seuss house, but its official name is the Goose Creek Tower. It began as a cozy 2-story log cabin, but builder Philip Widener kept adding floors on top, so it kept growing higher into the sky. Today, the tower soars about 185 feet tall, roughly 17 stories high. From outside, it looks like something straight out of a children's fantasy. Crooked log beams, mismatched windows, and a roofline that zigzags as if drawn by a cartoonist. Widener, a trial lawyer by profession, calls his creation a poem to the sky. He's been working on it for over 20 years, one plank and stair at a time. As a fun warning, the house is on private land and never fully finished, so you can't just walk in. Instead, people on the Talkeetna Railroad are told to keep a lookout through the train windows. If you're lucky, you'll see this crooked tower flash by in seconds. It's such a famous oddity that train conductors sometimes announce it, and drivers on the highway slow down in disbelief. Whether it's called the Dr. Seuss house or a crazy vertical cabin, one thing is sure: it's one of the strangest structures you'll ever see, and it stands proudly in the Alaskan woods. 3. Aurora Ice Museum. Next, travel to near Fairbanks, where the winter fun never stops at the Aurora Ice Museum. Built by the Chena Hot Springs Resort, it bills itself as the world's largest year-round ice environment. Every room is a frozen artwork carved by ice sculptor Steve Bryce. Walk in and you'll see a pair of giant knights locked in a jousting match, a full-sized polar bear lounging on an icy couch, even a life-sized penguin made of ice. One whimsical scene is a 2-story snowball fight structure. Imagine climbing a set of stairs made of compacted snow to throw frozen snowballs from a frosty ramp. The whole museum is lit with cool blue and green lights that dance like the northern lights over the ice sculpture's Atlas. A popular photo op is the bar. Every element from the counter to the glasses is sculpted ice. Yes, you can sit on an ice bench and order a chilled cocktail, which arrives in a glass made of ice. They even have an ice outhouse on display, a weirdly detailed toilet carved from a solid ice block. Tours of the museum run year-round. They even give you a thick parka to wear inside, since Chena decided to make it a permanent attraction instead of a melting hotel. So whether you're a kid or an adult, drinking ice melt martinis and snapping selfies with frozen knights is all in a day's fun at this frosty oasis. 4. Kennecott Ghost Town. Deep in Alaska's vast Wrangell St. Elias National Park is a real-life ghost town frozen in time. This was Kennecott, pronounced Ken-ik-at, a copper mining company town that boomed in the early 1900s. In less than 3 decades, it produced over $100 million worth of copper. But then the copper was gone. By 1938, the mine was abruptly shut down, trains stopped, and almost everyone left overnight. The town was never reoccupied, so when you walk around today, you see empty hotels, decaying machine shops and a silent mill, relics of a once frenzied boom town. Now Kennecott, often spelled Kennecott on maps, is basically a museum of abandoned buildings. It has a ghostly atmosphere at sunrise or sunset, with only about 24 people living in the entire area, mostly in nearby McCarthy. It feels wild and isolated. You reach the ruins by crossing a narrow footbridge over the Kennecott River and hiking about 4 to 5 miles on a gravel road. Strangely, the company town itself was totally dry. Alcohol and gambling were banned. So the rowdier fun sprang up in McCarthy down the road. It built saloons and even a brothel for the miners who couldn't find any in Kennecott. Today, visitors hike or take small shuttles through the muskeg and tundra to explore the old cabins and mills. Many say listening to the wind howl around empty windows gives you goosebumps, as if the town itself is whispering old mining tales. It's an eerie, fascinating slice of history, exactly the kind of spine-tingling stop that adventure travelers can't resist. 5. The Upside-Down Forest. Our final stop is back in Juneau at a place called Glacier Gardens Rainforest Adventure. Here you'll find the famous upside-down forest, which is exactly as weird as it sounds. All around the garden, dozens of spruce and hemlock trees have been uprooted and replanted upside down. These flower towers have their root balls pointed skyward, forming hanging baskets. Bright begonias, fuchsias, and other flowers are planted in the root cups, so the blossoms cascade downward like colorful waterfalls. Walking among them feels like Alice stepped into Wonderland, except it was actually invented on purpose by a landscape gardener. Legend has it that owner Steve Bohe got the idea by accident. While digging out a stream, he slammed a big tree stump into the soft earth, roots up, just to move it, and loved the look. He turned this mishap into a method, eventually inverting over 20 trees and planting more than 75 flowering plants in the next year. The result is utterly magical, upside-down red blossoms hanging from a green canopy of needles and hanging moss spilling out of the root bowls. Glacier Gardens now tours cruise ship passengers through this topsy-turvy wonderland. Travel writers call it one of the most charming attractions Juneau has to offer. It's proof that in Alaska, the strangest things really can happen right under your feet and above your head. So those are 5 of Alaska's weirdest and most wonderful spots, from glaciers to ghost towns and beyond. Each one is surprising in its own way, a reminder that Alaska's wild beauty isn't just about scenery, but about story and imagination as well. Which of these unique places would you most like to visit?
Imagine you're driving through California, and then suddenly you find yourself in a forest where gravity doesn't work, or on a beach made entirely of glass. You keep driving until you reach a massive lake, silent, rotting, and haunted by the ghosts of an entire town. In the next few minutes, I'll take you on a trip to the 5 weirdest places in the Golden State. So buckle up, hit that like button, and subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's waiting at number 1. 5. The Mystery Spot. Our journey begins in the redwoods of Santa Cruz, where reality itself seems to crack. Locals call it the Mystery Spot. At first glance, it looks ordinary, just a small wooden shack in the forest. But the moment you step inside, everything feels wrong. Your body tilts at impossible angles. Balls roll uphill. Chairs balance on their edges as if held by invisible strings. Even standing still feels like trying to fight against some unseen force. Visitors describe dizziness, laughter, even a creeping unease as their senses betray them. Scientists say it's just clever design. The cabin was built at a tilt, and the surrounding redwoods confuse your depth perception. But then, why do people walk out of there feeling like they've touched something otherworldly? Conspiracy theories swirl. Some whisper about magnetic anomalies, others about UFOs. A few insist there's something hidden deep underground that bends the laws of physics. Whatever the explanation, one thing is certain. The mystery spot doesn't just make you doubt gravity, it makes you doubt yourself. And if you think that's unsettling, wait until you see a place where California's trash turned into one of the strangest beaches in the world. Number 4. Glass Beach. Now imagine walking along a shoreline that sparkles like a jewelry store spilled its treasure into the sea. This is Glass Beach, in the small town of Fort Bragg. But here's the twist. Every glittering gem under your feet was once garbage. In the early 1900s, locals dumped bottles, appliances, even cars off the cliffs into the ocean. Nature, with its brutal patience, did something humans couldn't. Wave after wave smashed that trash, tumbled it, and polished the glass into smooth, shining pebbles. Today the beach glows with emerald greens, deep blues, and amber golds. Under the sun, it looks like the sand itself has caught fire. It's breathtaking, but also a little sad. A reminder that our worst waste can sometimes be turned into something strangely beautiful. Visitors are warned not to pocket these colorful shards, take too many, and one day the magic disappears. But even if the glass stays, you can't help but think, each piece carries a story. A broken bottle from a century ago, a shattered window from someone's home, and now it lies here, glimmering like treasure. From the shimmer of the sea, we head into the desert, where a painted mountain rises like a mirage. Number 3. Salvation Mountain. Drive into the desert near Slab City and suddenly it hits you. A 50-foot-high mountain covered in colors so bright they almost hurt your eyes. Blues, reds, pinks, yellows, every inch painted with murals, words, and one giant message: God is love. This is Salvation Mountain, the life's work of one man, Leonard Knight. For nearly 3 decades, Leonard built this monument by hand, mixing adobe clay, straw, and whatever scraps he could find, then painting it over and over with gallons of donated paint. At first it looks whimsical, even childish, but the longer you stare, the stranger it becomes. Tunnels painted like rainbows, stairways that lead nowhere, words repeating like a chant. Some visitors describe it as uplifting, a beacon of faith in the middle of nowhere. Others find it haunting, a monument to obsession, slowly peeling in the desert sun. The Folk Art Society declared it a national treasure. Travelers call it a miracle. And standing there under the baking sky, it's hard not to feel something. But if you thought one man's painted mountain was surreal, our next stop takes us somewhere that doesn't even look like Earth. Number 2, Trona Pinnacles. The road is rough, the air dry, and then you see them, hundreds of stone spires rising from the desert floor, tall, jagged, and bone-white. Welcome to Trona Pinnacles, one of the strangest landscapes in California. These towers were formed thousands of years ago when a massive lake covered this desert. Minerals built up around underwater springs, and when the water vanished, the spires were left behind. Today, more than 500 of them stand in eerie silence, some as tall as a 14-story building. Hollywood noticed, too. If you think this looks like Mars, you're not wrong. Movies like Planet of the Apes and Star Trek filmed scenes here. Standing among them, you can almost believe you've left Earth, but it's not just their alien beauty. The silence here is overwhelming. No birds, no trees, just wind whistling between the rocks. At night, with only starlight, the pinnacles look like an army of giants frozen in stone. It's breathtaking, but unsettling. And if you think this is strange, just wait. Because our final stop isn't just weird, it's haunting. A ghost lake, born by accident, that swallowed towns and left behind a wasteland. Number 1. The Salton Sea. It started with a mistake. In 1905, engineers tried to bring water from the Colorado River into California's desert farmland. The canals broke, the river burst free, and for nearly 2 years it poured unchecked into the desert, creating the Salton Sea, the largest lake in California. At first, it was a paradise. Resorts popped up along its shores. Celebrities came to fish, boat, and party. The water shimmered and towns flourished. But the sea had a deadly secret. With no natural outlet, salt and farm runoff built up year after year. The water grew toxic. Fish began to die by the millions, their skeletons littering the beaches. Birds followed. The once bustling resorts emptied, leaving behind rusting trailers, collapsing motels, and entire communities abandoned. Today, the Salton Sea looks like something from a post-apocalyptic movie. Sunsets paint the water in brilliant pinks and purples, but along the shore, you're standing on layers of crushed fish bones instead of sand. The silence is broken only by the groan of wind against broken piers. Some say the place is cursed. Others call it a warning, a glimpse of what happens when nature is pushed too far. Artists and drifters still come, turning ruins into eerie galleries. But most visitors leave with the same thought: this place feels haunted. And with that, our road trip comes to an end. But California's strangeness doesn't. California hides some of the weirdest, most haunting places you'll ever see. So let me ask you, if you had to spend one night in just one of these places, which would it be? The dizzying mystery spot? The glittering glass beach? The painted Salvation Mountain? The alien Trona pinnacles? Or the haunted Salton Sea? Comment your choice below, and I'll feature some of the best answers in the next video. There's something about Colorado, something different. The mountains whisper ancient secrets. The winds carry legends, and hidden between its snowy peaks and silent deserts lie places that don't just defy logic, they rewrite it. Today, we're diving into the 5 weirdest, strangest, and most mysterious places in Colorado. Some verified, some mythical, and one that might make you question what's real at all. 1. The Garden of the Gods. Our first stop takes us to Colorado Springs, a place that looks like Mars, but exists right here on Earth. The Garden of the Gods, a name that sounds divine, but its origin story? Absolutely baffling. These massive red sandstone rocks rise hundreds of feet into the air, almost as if someone slammed them into the ground upside down. Geologists say they're over 300 million years old, created by unimaginable tectonic forces. But here's where it gets weird. Ancient Native American legends describe the site as a meeting place of supernatural beings, where the gods themselves once walked. Local tribes believe the unusual rock shapes were frozen spirits, protectors of the valley. And even today, hikers report feeling watched. No, not by tourists, but by something older, deeper. When the sun sets here, one local guide says, the rocks almost hum, like they're alive. Whether you see it as a geological miracle or a spiritual energy zone, the Garden of the Gods reminds us that not every wonder of nature can be fully explained. Now imagine this. You're driving through the green forests of southern Colorado, surrounded by snow-capped mountains, and suddenly, a desert appears. Welcome to the Great Sand Dunes National Park, home to the tallest sand dunes in North America, some reaching nearly 750 feet high. But here's the twist. No one can fully explain how this desert ended up in the middle of the Rockies. Scientists believe ancient lakes dried up, leaving behind sand carried by powerful winds. But the mystery is, why does it stay here? The dunes don't move outward like normal deserts. They're trapped in one spot, as if held by an invisible boundary. Call it the desert that breathes. On certain nights, the dunes emit a low, deep hum, a sound phenomenon known as singing sand. Some visitors describe it as a heartbeat of the earth. But there's another story, a myth from the Ute people, that the dunes are the remnants of a giant sand monster, defeated by the gods and buried beneath the valley. And when the wind howls, that's not sand moving. It's the creature trying to wake again. Whether you believe the science or the myth, one thing's certain: there's no other place like this anywhere in America. The next destination is not a national park, it's not even natural, but it might be out of this world. Deep in the San Luis Valley, where strange lights often dance in the night sky, sits a place that looks straight out of a sci-fi movie, the UFO Watchtower. Built by Judy Messeline, a local rancher, this open-air platform attracts hundreds of UFO enthusiasts every year. Why? Because for decades this valley has been a hotspot for UFO sightings, unexplained lights, and even alleged alien encounters. Locals call this area Colorado's Bermuda Triangle. Cattle mutilations, mysterious orbs, and sudden electromagnetic disruptions, all reported within a 100-mile radius. Judy herself claims she's seen multiple flying objects that defy every law of physics. And guess what? Even scientists have confirmed unusually high levels of magnetic energy in this valley, though no one knows why. The site now has a garden of alien peace, filled with gifts and offerings from visitors, coins, photos, notes, all left as tributes to the unknown. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, standing under that vast Colorado sky, surrounded by silence, you can't help but look up and wonder. From the strange skies, we descend into history and silence. Hidden deep in the Sawatch Range lies St. Elmo, one of Colorado's best-preserved ghost towns. Once a booming gold mining town in the late 1800s, home to more than 2,000 people, it now stands frozen in time, eerily intact. But here's the strange part: it's not completely deserted. Visitors have reported flickering lights in abandoned buildings, the faint sound of laughter echoing down empty streets, and the smell of old cigar smoke in rooms sealed for over a century. Locals believe it's the spirit of Annabelle Stark, the last resident who refused to leave even after everyone else was gone. She died alone, but many say her presence never did. A caretaker once swore he saw her silhouette at a window, watching him. Others claim they've heard a piano playing inside the long, empty hotel. Whether it's ghostly energy or just imagination, St. Elmo or the ghost town stands as a chilling reminder that not everything from the past stays buried. Maybe it's history holding on, or maybe the town itself doesn't want to be forgotten. Our final stop takes us to a place that might not even exist, or maybe it exists only sometimes. Locals in parts of the San Juan Mountains whisper about the Forest of Mirrors. It's said to be a patch of woods where time bends. Hikers tell stories of entering trails and suddenly losing hours, watches freezing, compasses spinning, phones dying without reason. Some describe seeing reflections of themselves, not in water, but in thin air. One man claimed he saw his future self walking out of the mist, only for it to vanish seconds later. Another group said they heard their own voices calling from deeper inside, even though they hadn't spoken. Are no official records of such a place. Some say it's a myth born from Colorado's dense wilderness and the tricks of mountain fog. Others believe it's connected to the magnetic anomalies of the region, the same forces that make compasses misbehave. Whatever the truth, the Forest of Mirrors reminds us that nature still holds secrets beyond human understanding, and that not every story needs proof to send chills down your spine. Arkansas. Most folks picture rolling hills, crystal lakes, maybe a plate of barbecue. But what if I told you the natural state hides stories so strange, so downright weird, that even locals can't quite explain them? So grab your seatbelt, because today we're diving into 5 of the strangest, weirdest places in Arkansas. And trust me, you'll want to stick around to the very end, because the last one, well, let's just say it might flip your whole world upside down: the White River Monster. In the town of Newport, along the White River, lives a creature locals lovingly call Whitey. Think of the Loch Ness Monster, but southern. Described as a 30-foot-long beast with spines on its back and flippers like an alligator, Whitey has been spotted for generations. Now here's where it gets really strange. The Arkansas state government actually passed a law creating the White River Monster Refuge. Yep, you heard that right. It is literally illegal to harm or harass Whitey when he's in the river. Why? Because people take this legend seriously. There are stories of Whitey overturning a Confederate gunboat during the Civil War. There are reports from fishermen who swear they've seen the creature rise from the water. And every year, Newport even has a little parade, with a giant Whitey leading the way. So tell me, if Arkansas lawmakers protect it by law, does that mean Whitey's real? Or is this just a town having fun with its favorite legend? Either way, Whitey has become a mascot. And honestly, I love the idea of a monster that's not scary, but celebrated. He's not a villain, he's practically a local celebrity. Bigfoot's southern cousin. Now let's talk about a legend so big it made it to Hollywood. Meet the Fouke Monster, also called the Boggy Creek Monster. Back in the 1970s, a small town called Fouke became famous when locals reported seeing a giant, 7-foot-tall, hairy creature with glowing red eyes wandering the swamp. One man claimed it even attacked him, said it wrapped an arm around his shoulder and left scratches on his back. The story spread so fast that in 1972, a movie was made, The Legend of Boggy Creek. It was a low-budget film, but it became a cult classic. To this day, people still visit Fouke hoping to spot the monster. Now, skeptics say it was all a hoax, maybe a bear, maybe some prankster in a costume. But the funny thing is, sightings go back even further, as far back as the 1940s, and locals still swear something big lurks in those swamps. So the suspense is this: could Bigfoot really have a southern cousin hiding in Arkansas? Or is it just a story that got out of control? Either way, Fouke has embraced the legend. You can buy t-shirts, visit monster-themed shops, and even attend festivals celebrating the creature. One thing's for sure: if you're driving through Fouke at night and hear something big splash in the water, you won't be hanging around to ask questions. The Gurdon Light. Picture this. You're walking down a stretch of abandoned railroad track near the small town of Gurdon. It's dead quiet. No cars, no houses, just trees, crickets, and darkness. Suddenly, a glowing light appears in the distance. Not a car, not a flashlight, just this eerie floating orb that seems to dance along the tracks. Here's the legend. Back in 1931, a railroad foreman named William McLean was murdered out here. Locals say his ghost never left, and the glowing orb, that's his lantern. Still searching for his missing head. Creepy, right? But here's the kicker. Scientists have studied it. Some say it's swamp gas. Others say it's quartz crystals under pressure releasing energy. But guess what? The light appears in rain, snow, and clear skies alike. And car headlights from the highway can't be seen here. So what do you believe? A ghost still pacing the tracks? Or science that hasn't quite caught up? Mama Lou's Bridge. Here's a question to get you curious. What would you do if a stranger appeared on a deserted road, yelling for her baby? At Wolf Bayou Bridge, called Mama Lou's Bridge, legend warns you might actually see a ghost. The story goes that long ago, a distraught mother, nicknamed Mama Lou, drove her car off the bridge with her newborn baby, and both drowned. Ever since, locals say her spirit haunts the spot. If you visit at night and call out, "Mama Lou, I have your baby," strange things are said to happen. According to one news feature, if you go there late at night and holler, "Mama Lou, I have your baby," 3 times on that bridge, you just might have car trouble. And you might even see a woman in white looking for her baby. Imagine the scene. You're alone on a dark road, headlights off, whispering the name on a wind. Mama Lou, Mama Lou. The folklore says that's all you need to call her spirit. Reportedly, visitors have even filmed mysterious flickers or heard faint cries. Of course, skeptics say it's an old wives' tale meant to spook kids. But whether ghostly mom or just superstition, one thing's for sure. Nobody goes to Mama Lou's Bridge after midnight for fun. Ever wondered what happens if you dare to shout Mama Lou's name at the bridge? Pivot rock. Imagine hiking through the Ozarks and stumbling on a giant rock, balanced upside down. That's pivot rock, a 12-foot sandstone boulder perched on a tiny base, like a pyramid flipped on its head. It looks like gravity forgot the rules. Geologists say erosion shaped it over millions of years. But local legends add some flair. Some say outlaw Jesse James once hid near Pivot Rock after a robbery, using the odd landscape to cover his tracks. Whether that's true or not, Pivot Rock became so famous that it was once featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Tourists have been visiting for over 100 years, marveling at how something so heavy could balance so delicately. And here's the fun question. Is it just a rock? Or a reminder that sometimes nature is stranger than fiction? One thing's certain, standing beneath it makes you feel like the whole world is a little upside down. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these weird places surprised you the most? Would you dare?
You might know Alabama for sweet tea and southern hospitality, but beneath that polite veneer lurk some truly strange places. From ghostly factories to submerged ghost towns, rattlesnake-worshipping churches to real-life alien abduction movie sets, and even a playground haunted by children. This state has it all. Today we're counting down 5 of the strangest spots you'll find. Let's dive into these eerie and intriguing locales. Sloss Furnaces, Birmingham. Our first stop is an 1880s blast furnace turned museum in Birmingham. By day, Sloss Furnaces is a National Historic Landmark celebrating the city's iron and steel boom. But by night, it's a massive rusted hulk straight out of a horror movie. Imagine the dim glow of coke ovens and hissing steam. It's no wonder so many accident tragedies are part of its history. In fact, local media call Sloss Furnaces a historical monument to the city's industrial past, that is also the home of a legendary ghost story. Legend has it that dozens of workers died here over the years, nearly 50 in just one span under a cruel foreman nicknamed Slag, and some employees even claim to feel a mysterious presence around the old furnaces at night. One famous tale centers on Theophilus Calvin Jowers, an iron worker who in 1927 fell into a vat of molten pig iron at another plant and died horribly. All that remained was one charred heart, and generations later, Sloss visitors report seeing Jowers' ghost, heartless in a sense, still toiling among the ruins. According to the lead tour guide at Sloss, Jowers' ghost has been seen working side by side with employees as businesses across the area shut down, and he supposedly came here to Sloss after his own furnace closed, haunting the furnaces that were the last to stop production in 1971. It's the perfect creepy campfire story, a worker claiming eternal vigil over the very furnaces that killed him. In short, Sloss Furnaces is as much a ghost story as a history lesson, a rusting cathedral of iron where the past really won't stay buried. Next, we head east to Lake Martin, a 44,000-acre reservoir straddling the Alabama-Tallapoosa River. But this is no ordinary lake. Under its crystal surface lies a submerged ghost town. In the late 1800s, an African-American community called Coaliga thrived here. It was founded by John and William Benson, a freed slave family who built schools, churches, and businesses on Coaliga Creek's shore. By 1926, Alabama Power completed the Martin Dam to generate hydroelectric power, and valley residents were forced to pack up their lives and leave. As one history account puts it, when the water came rushing through, Coaliga was left underwater, forgotten by the currents of time. Today, Coaliga's foundations and graves lie at the bottom of the lake. During droughts or with scuba gear, some say you can still glimpse brick remnants of the school or church and old stone walls just under the waves. Occasionally, locals even report eerie encounters. Snorkelers tell of phantom swimmers, and fishermen swear they've hooked onto submerged house flooring. Above the water, Lake Martin is a busy vacation paradise, but just below it is a silent reminder of a vanished town. It's like a real lost world beneath the boat docks, a twist on the idea of a sunken city that adds a spooky, otherworldly layer to the lake's beauty. Snake-handling churches. Up north on Alabama's Sand Mountain, you'll find a scene both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Here, a handful of Pentecostal churches still handle venomous snakes during worship as a literal demonstration of faith. These snake-handling sects believe in a passage from Mark's Gospel, "They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them." They call themselves churches of God with signs following, and by 2001 about 40 such congregations were known to exist in this region. Picture a summer Sunday in rural Marshall County. Blues gospel music ends, the pastor calls a sinner to the front, and suddenly snakes, even rattlers or copperheads, are passed hand to hand. The worshippers believe the Holy Spirit protects them. Of course, the practice is extremely dangerous. Handlers have been bitten, some even fatally, yet surviving congregants say that just proves their faith. The extremes can be shocking. An HBO true crime documentary, Alabama Snake, the 2020, recounts one snake-handling pastor who actually tried to murder his own wife by sending a venomous rattler after her. She survived. That's not a headline you'd expect from church, but around here, serpent-singing saints have a long and odd history. Whether you're curious about faith or fear, these Sand Mountain churches are a top pick for weird Alabama. They are hardly tourist attractions. In fact, snake handling is illegal in most states, but their existence is a fascinating oddity. Longtime residents half joke that Sand Mountain is the only place where you might end up worshipping with a snake in one hand and a Bible in the other. The result is both eerie and oddly compelling, ring-tailed snakes waving above praying hands, all in the name of divine power. The Close Encounters house leaving Sand Mountain behind, we head to Fairhope on the Gulf Coast for our penultimate oddity. Here's a place that might make you feel like an extra in a movie, because it is. A small farmhouse at the corner of Highways 104 and 181 served as a filming location in Steven Spielberg's 1977 classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In one famous scene, young Barry Goyler is snatched by aliens after crawling through a doggy door. And that house, it's right here in Fairhope. Local outlets even call it the Fairhope House, featured in the 1977 sci-fi film. The house has become something of a local landmark. Some fans dub it the Alien House or Close Encounters House. It was built in the 1800s and later served as an antique store, offices, etc. But it earned fame from that movie scene. In Fairhope's newspapers, the house was news again when city planners approved moving it slightly on its lot rather than demolish it. Why the fuss? Movie buffs want to preserve it. More than the remodeling plans, what really sends chills is knowing that the iconic alien abduction moment happened right in that kitchen. The Fairhope Times writes, "In the famous scene filmed there, a little boy is abducted by aliens after crawling through a pet door, standing in the front yard at night, hearing a child's cry and seeing a dog door swing on its own." Okay, maybe skip that impulse. But precisely because of the film, this unassuming home is one of Alabama's odder attractions. Reminds visitors how sometimes truth can be stranger than fiction, or in this case, exactly the same. Maple Hill Park, Dead Children's Playground. Our last stop is so creepy it sounds like an urban legend, but the locals swear it's real. In Huntsville's historic Maple Hill Cemetery sits a small playground that the neighborhood knows by a chilling nickname, Dead Children's Playground. According to reports, this innocent-seeming play area is haunted by the souls of deceased children. That definitely piques your attention on a dark night. Stories vary about why kids roam here. Some say it's the restless spirits of children who died in the 1918 influenza pandemic. After all, children were laid to rest in Maple Hill Cemetery, and maybe their laughter never left. Others claim it's tied to a series of tragic child abductions in the late 1960s. The bodies of missing youngsters were found near this spot. Either way, people who have visited tell the same spooky tales. On summer evenings, the swings sometimes rock by themselves. Tiny footprints appear in the dirt, and even photographs taken here often show floating light orbs. Witnesses report hearing ghostly laughter or the soft patter of small feet when no children are around. For example, a Huntsville blog notes that accounts differ, but in all of them the children return at dusk to play. It sums up the legend. Some say the children who died of the flu come out at night to play at the playground, and others say the park is haunted because children's bodies were recovered near the playground from old crimes. Whether fact or folklore, the chilling effect is the same. People who explore Maple Hill after dark often swear they've seen the swings move with no one on them, or heard distant giggling echo across the graves. If I were you, I'd keep one eye on the swings the next time I'm here. The city eventually removed the original equipment in 2007, but after public outcry, a new playground was put back, even though the creepy tales persisted. The Dead Children's Playground isn't on any tourism brochure, for obvious reasons. Those were 5 of the weirdest spots Alabama has to offer. An iron furnace haunted by worker ghosts, a sunken town beneath a lake, snake-worshipping church services, a real-world alien abduction movie house, and a playground haunted by children's spirits. Which one would you dare to visit? Maybe you'd rather go scuba diving in Lake Martin or catch a Slayer concert at Sloss. They hold a big music fest there every year, then play on those swings at Maple Hill after dark. And is there some strange Alabama spot we left off the list? We want to hear about it. Tell us in the comments which weird place in Alabama fascinates or spooks you the most. If you in Arizona, the land of endless deserts, burning sunsets, and the Grand Canyon. But behind the postcard views lies something stranger, far stranger. I'm not talking about tourist spots or Instagram-perfect hikes. No, today we're going deep into the desert's secrets. Castles made of junk, pyramids that have nothing to do with Egypt, camels haunting the sand, and even underground dining rooms where not a single living thing survives. So buckle up, because I'm about to take you on a journey through 5 of the weirdest places in Arizona. The kind of places you won't find on glossy travel brochures, but you'll never forget once you hear their stories. 1. The Mystery Castle. Imagine this. You climb into the foothills of South Mountain in Phoenix, expecting nothing but cactus and dirt. And then, out of nowhere, Bama Castle. Not Disneyland, not a medieval fortress. A strange, lopsided, cobbled-together castle. With 18 rooms, 13 fireplaces, and a construction history that sounds more like folklore than architecture. This is the Mystery Castle, built in the 1930s by Boyce Luther Gully. Here's the twist. Gully abandoned his wife and daughter, disappeared to Arizona after contracting tuberculosis, and instead of writing home, he spent years secretly building a castle for his little girl, Mary Lou. Romantic? Maybe. Weird? Definitely. He built it out of anything he could find. Old tires, car parts, telephone poles, railroad iron. Local legend even says the mortar was mixed with goat's milk. Yep, goat's milk. When Gully died, his daughter finally inherited the castle, and the world discovered this strange desert fortress. It had no electricity, no plumbing, no modern comforts, but it had towers, trapdoors, and stories in every wall. Life magazine once called it a fairy tale dream house. Some see it as art, others as madness, and recently its fate has been uncertain, with demolition threats hanging over it. But one thing's for sure, the Mystery Castle proves that obsession can literally reshape the desert. Next stop, Florence, Arizona. You're driving along flat desert land and then suddenly you see it, a stone pyramid rising out of a lonely butte. Not in Egypt, not in Vegas, right here, in the Arizona desert. This is the tomb of Charles Poston, also known as the Father of Arizona. Back in the 1800s, Poston was a politician, a dreamer, and let's be honest, a little eccentric. He believed in building a sun temple inspired by Zoroastrianism, a Persian religion that worships fire and the sun. He never had the money to complete it, but when he died in 1902, friends honored his wish. They dragged his body up the butte and entombed him in a 14-foot pyramid. On top, they placed an altar facing east, perfectly aligned with the sunrise. It's eerie, it's grand, and it's baffling. Why would a politician from Arizona want to be buried like a sun priest? Skeptics say he was just a man of wild ideas. But standing there, looking at that pyramid in the middle of nowhere, you can't help but feel like Arizona is hiding a secret chapter from some forgotten civilization. 3. The Camel Keeper's Pyramid. Now, if you thought a pyramid was strange, how about a pyramid with a camel on top? Welcome to Quartzsite, where the desert honors a man named Haji Ali, or, as the locals called him, Hi Jolly. In the 1850s, the US Army had a bizarre idea. Hey, what if we use camels instead of horses to cross the desert? Enter Haji Ali, a Syrian camel driver brought here to train soldiers. The camel experiment didn't last, but Hi Jolly stayed. When he died in 1902, the townsfolk loved him so much they built him a pyramid-shaped tomb, decorated with chunks of quartz and petrified wood. And just for style points, They stuck a metal camel silhouette right on top. But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Out of the abandoned camel corps came one of Arizona's strangest legends, the Red Ghost. People swore they saw a giant ghostly camel charging through the desert, sometimes with what looked like a skeleton strapped to its back. Spooky. Absolutely true, probably not. Most historians say it was just one of the leftover camels roaming free, for dining in a dead cave. Finally, let's go underground. North of Peach Springs, along Route 66, you'll find a cave system called the Grand Canyon Caverns. Descend 21 stories into the earth, and you'll stumble across something that feels straight out of a Tim Burton movie. A restaurant suspended above a massive cave floor. It's called the Caverns Grotto. Only 4 tables. Food is cooked on the surface, then lowered by pulley into the dining area, where you sit surrounded by 345-million-year-old limestone walls. Here's the creepy part. It's what's known as a dead cave. No bacteria, no insects, nothing can survive down there. Proof? They've got a centuries-old mummified bobcat on display, preserved naturally by the dry air. So while you're chewing on your burger, you're literally eating in a tomb where life itself can't exist. Some call it romantic, others call it unsettling. Either way, it's one of the strangest dining experiences you can have on Earth. The Lost Dutchman's Mine. Of course, no list of weird Arizona would be complete without a treasure tale. The Lost Dutchman's Mine might be the most famous lost gold mine in America, hidden somewhere in the rugged Superstition Mountains east of Phoenix. The legend goes like this. A prospector named Jacob Waltz, nicknamed the Dutchman, though he was German, discovered an insanely rich vein of gold in the 1800s. He supposedly hoarded piles of gold nuggets and left cryptic clues about the mine's location. But here's the catch. When he died in 1891, he took the real secret to his grave. Since then, countless treasure hunters have tried to find it. Some returned empty-handed. Others never returned at all. People whisper that the mine is cursed, guarded by spirits, or perhaps booby-trapped by the Peralta family, the original owners of the land. Geologists roll their eyes and say, sorry folks, the superstitions don't even have that kind of gold. But try telling that to the treasure hunters who are still out there today, hiking under the blazing sun, convinced will be the ones to strike it rich. The Lost Dutchman's Mine isn't just a story, it's a fever dream that swallowed lives for over a century. And that's what makes it so chilling. So that's proof that Arizona isn't just about pretty landscapes, it's a place where history, myth, and pure human weirdness collide. Now here's the real question. If you could visit just one of these places, which would it be? Here's an even bigger question. Which state do you think hides weirder secrets than Arizona? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's see which state wins the crown of America's strangest.